Howdy, friends. As I explained you the last video about the competition, which it was exactly the most important engine to let the Oriental dancing or belly dancing grow up during this time long ago. Exactly, the competition was the most important point, helped the Oriental dancing or belly dancing, yes, also to be famous in many places all over Cairo and Alexandria. The same, yes, also. But as I told you, it's also about the other engine, which it later became much more famous. What we call it the festivals was only one festival, as I told you, from one dancer, and she invited a lot of dancers from many places all over the Arab countries, and of course from Asia and from North, or let me say from Greek and Italy, something like that. Yes, all these dancers, they came to Egypt, they danced in Egypt, and they became famous. What does that mean exactly? Why we say all the time that if you want to be famous, you have to come to Cairo or to Egypt, especially in this type of dance, to be much more famous all over the world? That because Egypt located in the heart of the Arab countries or in the middle of the Arab countries. This is the most important point. For this reason, long ago, if any family or any group coming from east to west or want to travel from east to west, north and south or something like this, they have to move through or pass by Egypt. Egypt was the central, exactly, that is the correct meaning. It was the central for all these people who traveled from everywhere to everywhere in this time long ago. This point helped the Oriental dancing and belly dancing to be much more famous and to let the dancers or people who working in this type of art to be famous, later to be famous all over the Arab countries or all over the old world long ago. It was like that until the beginning of the 20th century, when we started or began a lot of casinos opened in Cairo, and later, as I told you, in Alexandria. A lot of dancers came from everywhere all over the world and started to dance in Egypt until one or two of these casinos became much more famous, helped much more dancers to dance in or to be much more famous also in Cairo and Alexandria. Step by step, after the cinema became famous also in Egypt, a lot of directors asked or looking for the dancers to dance in. Why? Because it is so easy when you're going to dance on the stage. You can do all these types of acts without to be shy, so it's easy for you to dance and of course to act. For this reason, a lot of actors started to work in Egyptian cinema, and they started to become much more famous all over the Arab countries. The same. In this time, the cinema helped the Oriental dancers and belly dancers also to be much more famous and rich, which led all the dancers looking all the time for films or to do something like this. So this is the beginning, but some of them won and some of them lost. It is the same everywhere. Step by step, as I told you, was something looks like competition between all of them, which one is the best than the other, how many people love her very much, or audience, how many audience coming all the time watching her. Do she has a lot of parties outside the casinos, her casinos, or she can do a lot of parties outside, which helped also the dancers to be much more famous and to have much more money. But the problem is, or the problem was exactly that they fight each other. Looks like they want to kill each other. So the casinos helped them, especially Badia's casino helped them or helped a lot to work in and to be step by step graduated in this type of dance. Let me say something like this if it is correct. to be much more good and to be much more or better than the other, and step by step people love her very much, or asking her, the directors asking her to work in the cinema, and so on and so on. It is like that. This is exactly the beginning of the 20th century, which brought to us a lot of wonderful, many wonderful Oriental dancers, such as Samia Gamal, Tahia Karyoka, and a lot. The main point is some people love this dancer than the other, so sometimes they fighted each other, and this is big problem. It was big problem during this time, and sometimes the dancers also do some tricks to stop the other dancer or to let her go out of this art and something like this, until some of them started or they began to have their own way of dancing or own way of performance, which they tried in the end to take some new dancers, teaching them the new steps, and to be, looks like, let me say, a community which belongs only the dancers, and it helped exactly, yes, also, or let me say, the awalim helped them a lot to be much more better, and they can do wonderful type of dances, new type of dances, and sometimes some of them used a special type of performance or a special type of steps not belongs to the Oriental dancing or belly dancing or any type of dance, but looks like dancing. This way let much more foreign dance steps, let me say, foreign dance steps coming, yes, also inside the Oriental dancing. What is the meaning actually when I said foreign dance steps? What did that mean exactly? What is this exactly? This exactly, or let me explain to you to understand it right well. And for example, Badia Masabni asked some choreographers, foreign choreographers, to come and work inside her casino, teaching the dancers a special type of dances. Sometimes from Europe, another time, or sometimes yes, also from America and Latin America, and so on and so on. This is what I'm talking about, the foreign dance steps. This is exactly step by step. The dancers changed to be Egyptian way, in Egyptian way, or something like this way. What I'm talking about. All of you know exactly Tahia Karyoka. What is the meaning of Karyoka? Karyoka, it was a type of dance coming from Latin America. The choreographer came from Latin America, and he taught her this type of dance steps, which she did it perfect. For this reason, people, after they watched her through this type of choreography, and they asked, of course, about what is the meaning of this choreography, they told them, or started to be famous, this choreography, which we call it Karyoka. We call it Karyoka. So this Karyoka dance, in the end, became the name of Tahia Karyoka. Some other dancers did the same, yes, also, but the most famous one was the Karyoka dance, which Tahia Karyoka did it, and in the end became Tahia Karyoka, like this way. Of course, Tahia Karyoka danced this type of performance several times, also in a film, Egyptian film, but after that, she came back again to the Oriental dancing and belly dancing, and she started to do her own way and became a special school belongs to her. Many dancers tried all the time to study from her, and she taught a lot of dancers, yes, also. And it became something new in Egypt, and all the Egyptians love very much watching her and also the other dancers. As all of you know exactly that Egypt in this time was kingdom, and was much more freedom in this time, same as many other countries, yes, also, because I want to tell you something about In this time, Egypt was, the most important religion in Egypt in this time was Islam. We have Islam, Muslims, we have Christian, and we have Jew. In Egypt, all of us, we live in peace and nothing or no problem between us. But my main point is, beside the casinos and these places, actually there were also hacker houses and were also brothels, and a lot of dancers, or let me say a lot of women worked in this time long ago, belongs to this type of work. I don't say that a lot all the Egyptian, no, I'm talking about many women were working inside these places. I mean the hacker houses and brothels. Sometimes they do or they perform a special type of dance, which it means much more a type of belly dancing. So it is easy like that, or it was easy like that. Seduction dance steps, which is easy like that. So for this reason, many people or many families were not happy to see their men going to this area, enter these areas or enter these places, these houses, jealous, and sometimes it's also afraid or scared from these women if something happened, or you understand what I'm talking about. This is exactly the way in this time. This point actually led the collective thought in the society, Egyptian society, looking for these places as a bad places, and they don't like to have it all the time. By the way, this was in Egypt, in Cairo, and in Alexandria, a little in Delta, but in Upper Egypt I didn't hear something about, or we haven't yet also any sources talking about it in Upper Egypt, but was only Cairo and little in Delta, and of course in Alexandria. We have a story, an old story about one of these brothels here in Egypt, talking about two sisters. They opened something like this, and they hired many women working in, and some of them were dancers. Yes, also a big story. And by the way, we have some sources talking about this house. It was about 4 floors. The first floor, which was a cafe, the second floor was a restaurant, where anyone can enter the restaurant, anyone can stay or sit in the cafe, and the third and the fourth floors, hacker houses. So it was easy like that. And this story inspired many writers, and they wrote a wonderful stories about them later, of course, about them and about this life of them. Even we have a play, Mahmoud Rida created a wonderful choreographies. We did it, I was one of them, of the dancers we danced in. The story about Raya and Skina. This is also one of the stories long ago during this time. This is exactly the way the dancers in this time long ago looks like that, which led the people in the end in the Egyptian society, or let me say the collective thought, think that the dancers are not good or in the good way to do this type of dance. This was their thinking in this time long ago, which in the end also affected the cinema. For this reason, a lot of writers wrote some stories about the Oriental dancers or belly dancers as a bad people or bad type of art. And the cinema had these stories, created some films, which in the end affected also again this type of art. This is one point. Another point, after Egypt, until 1952 was like this way, and suddenly Egypt changed from kingdom to be republic. So everything changed once more again, and Egypt was communist in this time or after this time, which also affected Egypt for this way of the communism this time long ago. The government used the Oriental dancers in politics, in some points in politics. I don't like to push you inside this way actually, but you have to know that they used them to bring some information from someone or to control someone else or something like that. This is exactly which led again the Oriental dancing or the belly dancing to be much more lower in the society, or to let this type of art to be much more lower. People scared from them, afraid to watch this or to be in a contact with her. She is in a bad position or something like that. But because she is an actress, for this reason they love her. But in the other side or the hidden side, something else. So it was like this way in Egypt, which led the Oriental dancing and belly dancing to be much more lower, and to let the society don't like this type of art. We go through the history like this until 1959. A wonderful dancer, suddenly he started to, or gathered some dancers together, and he started to create a wonderful group dancers. Of course, all of you know him right well, Mahmoud Rida. He created this group of dancers, and they started to do something special in the Egyptian society, which all the Egyptians loved him very much. Step by step, some dancers, or let me say Oriental dancers, started to look at what he is doing actually, and they start to absorb some dance steps from him, use it with their or during their performance on the stages, to let much more audience be with them and love them very much. And step by step, he changed the way the collective thought in the society to this type of art or to this type of dance. This is exactly what I will explain to you the next video about this time and what had happened exactly. For this reason, if this is the first time watching this video or this is the first time visiting the channel, make sure to click the subscribe button below and hit the bell to receive my next video. This was my video for today, which I hope you like it, and of course I will be waiting for your questions or any comment you would like to write to me, send to me. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.